Hello, this is Ed Spicer of www.spicyreads.org. Recently, Travis Jonker of 100 Scope Notes stopped by to talk about Caldecott books, teen books, and children's literature in general. This is the first of our videos. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for stopping by.
Hello. I'm convinced that there is no better person with whom to shoot the Caldecott breeze than Ed Spicer. A first grade teacher, a member of the 2009 Caldecott Committee, and a passionate supporter of the written word. Ed can talk books with the best of them. The fact that he has no qualms about sharing his opinions doesn't hurt either. Recently, Ed sat down to discuss his Caldecott Committee experience, handicap the 2010 race, and even prognosticate this year's Prince Award winners. This was fun. So on your website, Spicy Reads, you list your age as 17 for the last 35 years. I take it you've always been a fan of books for young people?
Well, no. As a teen, and a homeless teen at that, looking for ways to validate myself and to protect my perceived need to hide my situation, I did not read any books by anyone unless the author was dead for at least 100 years. I read and memorized, much of Chaucer and Shakespeare, Milton, Keats, Shelley, Byron, all of the Romantics. I adored Dostoevsky, Hess, Plato, Sartre, Dickens, and many other, dead white guys. As Bob Dylan would say, I was so much older than, I'm younger than that now. And unfortunately, I'm even a little bit younger than my website page, which now should be updated to say for the last 38 years, and thanks for pointing out that mistake.
Nice impression. Yeah, sorry about that. That lyric certainly applies to your Caldecott work. Before talking Caldecott, maybe I should ask you about ground rules. What topics are off limits for you to discuss about your committee experience?
Well, no topics are off limits for you to ask, but I may not answer all of your questions. And I cannot answer any questions about which books we considered, which books were nominated or not. What did the committee think about any particular book? However, we were encouraged by our chair, Nell Colburn, and K.T. Hornig, who did a training session with our committee, to share books with multiple audiences and to solicit opinion on a wide variety of books. We are permitted to share personal opinions about books, but we've got to make it very clear that they are not the views of the committee. Essentially, all committee deliberations for both the Caldecott and the Prince are forever private, despite the fact that I've been lobbying for a statute of limitations that would allow sharing after X number of years.
Keep hammering away at that statute of limitations proposal. I'm hoping to see your Caldecott tell-all hit the shelves sometime in the future. What would be a good title? Randolph would blush? Caldecott Uncensored, perhaps?
Well, of course it would have to be a show and paint all picture of producing a picture book winner, lurid tales of treats and chocolate, and why the Postal Service and the UPS guy have investigated bumping us off. I like Randolph would blush.
So how'd you end up on the committee? Had you been pining for a while?
Well, I've served on the Prince Committee in 2005, and immediately after that I did a 3-year stint on BBYA from 2006 to 2008, and I also served as a facilitator for the YALSA's Best of the Best pre-conference, BOB, as we affectionately label it, in which participants selected the 10 best books of the year for the past 10 years. I write reviews for the Michigan Reading Journal. I was looking to see if I had one here handy. And I have done many presentations around Michigan on great books for children and teens. And I also teach first grade at Northward Elementary School in Allegan, which, probably helped the nominating committee understand that in addition to YA, I would also be able to understand and review books for young readers too. I have been very active on several listservs centered on children and teen literature. I try very hard to be respectful and polite to even those who are so horribly wrong about any given book. And I work hard, I do all the work. I'm guessing that these things reach the ears of the nominating committee, and many of the members of YALSA are also voting members of ALSC, which certainly helped during the voting time. During my last year of BBYA, I was asked if I'd be willing to submit my name for the Caldecott ballot, and surprisingly, it was a difficult question to answer because I had already told YALSA that I would serve on the Margaret Edwards Committee. Okay. It was really very easy to say, yes, I'll be on the Caldecott Committee. What, are you nuts? Because, from teaching first grade, my school district had a much clearer notion of how this related to first grade work than doing the Prince did, for example. Although when they did ask me to serve, I had to go on a ballot, and I was terrified that I would not be elected, and that would result in me ending up not going to the midwinter meeting.
As a man who lists ALA conference as your favorite vacation, I can see why that would be a worry.
Well, Chicago, Boston, Washington, D.C., San Diego, New Orleans, Toronto. What's not to like? Especially when San Diego takes me away from Michigan for close to 2 weeks in January. That's pretty much a no-brainer. I love rural Michigan. I love where I live, but I need big cities, even if I do end up spending a lot of my time in a convention center room.
You made a concerted effort to solicit input from kids when making your Caldecott choices. How did that go? What did you think about the feedback, and how did it influence your choices?
Well, this was pretty easy to do. I made movies with my students in which we modeled the Caldecott process. We start by finding something good to say about each book. Then we find things in the illustrations or in the text that do not appeal to us personally, and we say why. My students know that it's okay to love books or hate books, love them or hate them, as long as we use the text to support our argument. We have to point to things that are in the book that tells us why we either like it or don't like it. But liking it or not liking it are both the same as far as I'm concerned, just so long as it's text-based. And among the Caldecott criteria is the contentious issue of audience. One of the benefits of soliciting feedback from very young readers is that it may help the committee determine whether or not a book that is marketed for a certain age group actually has appeal to that age group. There are books that I thought were exceptionally funny that when I shared them with my students, I learned that they were just going way over their heads, that the humor was really more for adults. While my students did not really change my mind on any of my favorites, they often gave me ammunition when confronting the no appeal to audience argument.
This video interview with Travis Jonker of 100 Scope Notes will be continued on the next video, which you should find fairly close by this one, or on my YouTube page, or on my Facebook account eventually. I hope you are enjoying this interview. The next one will talk about books that I predict will win the Caldecott, or at least books that are being noticed by the Caldecott. And after that, I discuss books that I believe are Prince-worthy for 2010 Prince Award in January this month, coming up all too soon. I hope you're enjoying this interview with Travis Jonker of 100 Scope Notes as much as I am. Thanks for stopping by.